Hello, everyone, and welcome to the PTC Podcast for September. Gamescom is done. There's lots of things to talk about, and I've got a gang of fun-loving people here to talk about it with. First of all, we have Allan.
Hello.
We've got Liam.
Hello.
Sam's here.
Hey.
And also Chris.
Hello.
Regular listeners, of which I know that there are thousands, will recognise a few of those names. But Allan, you're a newcomer.
I am, for better or for worse.
So welcome along.
Thank you. I appreciate
that. And yeah, hopefully, hopefully everyone will be nice to you. I bet make no promises though. Make no promises. So, as I say, we've got quite a few things that have been talked about from Gamescom, but maybe not quite as many big reveals and things as the likes of E3 earlier in the year. So I've got a few things noted down, but just in terms of everyone's first impressions, is there anything which everyone particularly liked the sound of from Gamescom announcements?
That's a resounding no.
Well, I was watching a lot more. Well, I saw a bit more of Battlefront's new fighter mode, whatever it was called, in space. The one that's set entirely in space, and that looked pretty good. I like what they've done with the flying. It looks a lot more enjoyable than the first game. Well, sorry, the reboot. So I was happy to see more of that. That was pretty cool.
So to me, that didn't look a huge amount different from the space combat, or not space. It was the air combat, let's say, that was in the previous games. It was literally just set against a different backdrop. The same thing.
I don't know. It looked like they tweaked how you actually aim at the other ships, because before it was just sort of it locked on and you fired, and it did sort of, you'd have to be sort of lined up with it for it to hit. But this one had sort of another little tracker that was like following on where to aim. Maybe
I think didn't the old one have that? I think it did. You lock onto them, but it had like a diamond in front of them, and you had to sort of lead your shots, shoot in front of them, and then they flew.
Oh, if it did, then I missed it.
I think it did. I'm possibly thinking of a different game, but I'm almost sure.
Are you thinking of Rogue Squadron, Sam?
No, definitely not.
That sounds familiar from Rogue Squadron, but it might be that you're just more of a pro than Liam.
You just see that anyway.
I'm trying to think whether it's something I've played in VR or whether it was that.
I don't know. I'll have to go back and check, because when I saw it, it struck me as, oh, that's new. And I played quite a lot of Battlefront, and I don't know. I can't remember that being there. It might have been there, but I'll have to go back and have a look.
I thought the trailer for Battlefront 2, I thought it looked really good, actually. But I played quite a bit of the first one. But I'm looking forward to the single player in it. I thought the multiplayer was pretty good, but I don't have a lot of friends, unfortunately.
Aww. Yeah, I'm hoping the single player will be good as well. That's definitely a big draw for me. Having not played the original either of the two games, I did enjoy Battlefront, the latest one, up to a point, but it just, I don't know, something about not just because it felt like there wasn't tons of content when it came out, but I think really, you just want that kind of single player experience to teach you things sometimes, because often it can be a bit of a tutorial for multiplayer.
The only thing I hope is that
it can be a bit harsh jumping straight into it, especially if you don't get in there on the first couple of days. So once everyone's mastered everything, you can come in and just get an ass whooping for a few days, and that's happened to me many, many times. Hence why I'm looking forward to the single player as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. But I just hope they don't do, oh, she was in the Imperials and then she became all misguided with them or whatever and joins the Rebels. I just hope they stay Imperial all the way through. I'd like to see a good Imperial campaign.
You want someone who's like objectively evil, or like an anti-hero type thing, or what?
Just doesn't see it as like, not like a real evil bad baddie. Just this is my side. I believe in this, and you're wrong. That kind of thing.
Okay, interesting. That could be an interesting balance to strike between like evil and not evil.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'll go for. Sort of a sympathetic look at the bad guys.
I think you're right, because the rebels will be the bad guys, inverted commas, because they are terrorists after all. And you know, particularly from like Rogue One, you saw the kind of the more shady side of that moral divide in any case. So I think, yeah, I quite like the idea of a bit of moral ambiguity. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, I think single player is probably the thing I'm most looking forward to as well. I thought the multiplayer of Battlefront was okay, but because I'm just sort of crap at stuff, it was quite difficult to stuff and like get to the level other people are at.
Yeah, it can be quite intimidating. I guess that's kind of multiplayer and online multiplayer all over, really. We also had a cinematic trailer for Assassin's Creed after the kind of slightly botched but slightly okay reveal at E3. Is anyone particularly interested in this version of Assassin's Creed after a little break?
From my point of view, I've played a couple of the Assassin's Creed games. I really like number 2. I think they've just saturated the market. I'm just bored of it, really. But having said that though, I thought the trailer did look epic, and I really liked the soundtrack to that trailer. I thought that was really cool, but also maybe a bit overt in making it a bit darker. You've asked for darker. So we like turned out the light or something like that. But it looked interesting. But they're going to have to do something really special to get me on board.
So I don't think it was the right time to show a cinematic trailer. It was during the Xbox show when they're supposed to be, pimping the Xbox One X's enhanced visuals kind of thing. And obviously, a cinematic trailer doesn't do that. It's all pre-rendered. But I don't think the break shows. Like, there are a lot of people saying, "Oh, this is the Assassin's Creed game." It was, you can see the work they've put in, taking a year off. To me, it just looks like more of the same.
I completely agree.
Yeah, I'd agree with that as well, actually. I enjoyed Syndicate, but I came into the series pretty late. I've only really kind of played around on, I think I've watched someone playing the first game and then maybe played a tiny bit of the second game when it was on Games with Gold on Xbox a while ago. But yeah, Syndicate was the first one I played properly after all of the Unity debacle the previous year. And I enjoyed it, but I think a lot of that really came down to the setting and the fact that it was London and just that kind of the novelty of that, really. So I think if I had played even one of the other games before that in thoroughly, it wouldn't have been as good.
It's not really my thing. I think Brotherhood was the one I put the most amount of time in, and even then that wasn't that much. So I could take it or leave it, really. It looked okay, but from what I hear from people, it sounds like it's just going to be more of the same. And I know I've never really experienced it, but it never really grabbed me in the first place, so I don't feel any need to rush out and get it.
Fair enough. Any closing thoughts on this one, then, Chris?
I do quite like the Assassin's Creed games, but I think the series peaked with Black Flag, and since then it's just been downhill, really.
Well, I guess we are getting that spin-off game that looks like a spin-off game of Black Flag, aren't we? Whatever, I can't remember what it's called.
Skull and Bones, yeah.
Skull and Bones, yeah. That's what it was. Yeah, nice and distinctive there. I kind of wanted to see more of that at Gamescom, to be honest, but that wasn't shown as far as I know. Yeah,
I think that and Beyond Good and Evil 2 were the Ubisoft games I would have liked to have seen more of, and they were the two sort of conspicuously absent.
Speaking of Ubisoft, was there anything else that from their neck of the woods which people heard about, which they are interested in?
I don't think there was anything new, but I suppose the game that I'm looking forward to that they're publishing is South Park, The Fractured But Whole.
Oh yeah,
so,
yeah.
They're developing that as well this time around.
Are they? Oh, cool. Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I didn't play the Stick of Truth, so I've been waiting for this to come out because it's been delayed loads of times. But I was probably going to come with a copy of the Stick of Truth as well, so that'll be probably Christmas and New Year for me, hopefully, just playing through those two games. But I've heard really good things about the first one and really excited about picking up the second one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well, actually. I think to be honest, from Ubisoft recently, we had Mario+Rabbids come out for the Switch this week, which I'm only just starting to get into for our review. But I think they've done a really good job with that in terms of making it feel like a Mario game, which is kind of a weird thing to say, but it does work. As much as I don't have any affection for the Rabbids as a franchise, so to speak, it does kind of work in the sense of turning some of the conventions of Mario on its head. But yeah, I don't know. Are you guys, the Switch guys, amongst you? Are you going to be going for that one?
Does it feel closer to Mario or XCOM?
I would say it's probably closer to Mario, just in the sense that the XCOM is a lot of XCOM is about the depth of it, the permadeath of your losing your people. You can really customize your characters really deep and stuff like that. It's not really like that. It's almost I guess it's more similar to like Mario Party in the sense that, as you probably seen from the videos, you are just kind of wandering around as like a Roomba thing with ears, with a few of your with your team members following you, which is obviously looks very Mario Party-esque, but you're doing a few minor environmental puzzles before you then jump into as you say, an XCOM style battle. But it's really not. Well, so far anyway, I'm quite early in the game at the moment, but so far there's not that level of depth and kind of strategy as you would expect. It feels different enough to be its own thing. Doesn't feel like a rip-off or anything. But yeah, I think I'm pretty confident that it's going to kind of have the staying power.
Does playing, it's a minor thing, but does playing as a Roomba bother you at all? I mean, it's in the title, Mario and Rabbids. They've got all these iconic characters and you play as a Hoover, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, I mean, it does. It's slightly disconcerting when you obviously get in between the battles. Is the only time that you are it, but because they all run in a row and the Roomba thing is really small, you keep on like mistakenly thinking that you're Mario or whoever's first in your party. So you're like, oh damn it, they're not first. That thing is. So I need to go this way slightly. It makes kind of very minor differences, but you're kind of like, ugh. Particularly when you're trying to navigate, there's a section which is like a maze in one of the first couple of levels, and you need not necessarily precision, but you need a little bit of dexterity to kind of get around it in a time frame to do a certain environmental puzzle or whatever. And yeah, it can certainly can be a little bit distracting, but I think probably after time you get used to it. And as I say, in the battles, you're obviously controlling your team members individually anyway.
Can you play the campaign in co-op, like local co-op?
After you've got through the first kind of stage, if you want to put it like that, there's like about 5 or 6 levels per stage, sort of thing, similar to original Mario, like World 1, 4, etc.
Yeah.
Then you unlock basically everything. So there's a load of different customization options you unlock, and also local play in some form is unlocked. Haven't given that a try yet, but I don't think it's co-op in terms of campaign. It's more player versus player, I think. I'm not sure.
Okay. See, that would put me off. I'd like to play the whole thing in co-op all the way through the campaign. I mean, I'm pretty sure it'll be all right single player or head-to-head or whatever it is.
You could do it in a kind of everyone in the same room and just passing a controller around and playing a turn at a time or whatever quite easily. I think it's well set up for that sort of leisurely play, because obviously it is turn-based, so you've got quite a lot of time to do that sort of stuff. But okay. Speaking of Mario, I know Allan in particular, you're excited about Mario Odyssey.
They can just take all of my money right now. I don't care how much that game is when that comes out. It's the reason I bought a Switch. I don't care if I don't ever play any other game on my Switch. I will quite happily always splash the cash for a new 3D Mario game just on a console and that game. It's never let me down in the past. And the trailers for Odyssey look incredible so far. I thought Mario Galaxy was Mario turned up to 11, and Odyssey just looks like they've just ranked it up to like 15 or something. So I just can't wait. I just know that's going to absorb me entirely, and I won't put it down until I've got and done absolutely everything that game has to offer. So just because I trust the Nintendo.
They showed off a little bit more, I think, didn't they, around Gamescom? It's a bit difficult to keep track because Nintendo weren't physically there. But they did release some... What was it? Was it another level or a world or something?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I've seen enough. I don't want to see much more.
That's a fair point.
I've watched the first couple of trailers. and I just thought I would have bought it without a trailer. So yeah, they can't do anything wrong with that. I don't think they'll mess it up.
Oh, there you go. Strong recommendation there.
On the flip side of that, though, the other game I'm really excited about, Sonic Forces. So I've been playing, which sounds ridiculous. I know,
It does.
but hey, all right, easy. Calm down, everyone. Look, everyone's entitled to express their opinion, okay? And I've been burned before, and I no doubt will be burnt again, okay? But Sonic Generations was a quality game, I thought. I really enjoyed it. There's been a lot of missteps by the Sonic franchise. Sonic Mania has given me a bit more faith in maybe what they're doing with Sonic Forces as well. And because it's almost a sequel to Generations, I'm quietly confident. I shouldn't be. I know I shouldn't be, because I know it's.
Have you watched the gameplay trailers?
Yes, I've watched some of the gameplay trailers.
And you're
I'm still quietly confident.
Okay.
I'm still look, I'm allowed to get excited about this game. I think it's going to be fine. And you can all tell me you told me so and laugh in my face when it comes out and all the reviews come in and it's shockingly bad again. And
I hope it's good. I do hope it's good.
Snogging some human bird, and it's all horrific. But hopefully, it'll be good. I've got my fingers crossed. I'm hoping come Christmas, I'll be
Sonic snogging whichever strange animorph thing you create in the character creator.
Right, maybe.
Yeah,
I'm not so sure about that. I just want to be Sonic. But I love Sonic. Sonic Mania is really, really good. So hopefully if they've kept the quality control in place for Sonic Forces, we can enjoy a new 3D Sonic game that's not terrible. Let's go with that. Not terrible.
What worries me there, though, is Sonic Mania is made by an outside group of Sonic fans.
Yeah,
it's basically a Sonic fan game that Sega picked up. Sonic Forces is a Sega Sonic game.
I know, but it's Sonic Generations 2, and that's enough for me. I'm sold.
Okay.
I'm probably going to be wrong. I know I will be. And
no, I hope you're not. I hope it's good. It's the kind of thing I'll pick up on the Switch if it is good.
So we also had the much overhyped, in my opinion, release of the pre-orders for the Xbox One X Scorpio Edition, which was heavily leaked in the week coming up to Gamescom. Hands up then, who's pre-ordered?
I have not pre-ordered.
Yeah, I caved. I have no willpower.
If I had a 4K telly, I probably would have, but that's holding us back at the minute.
It's a fair point. I took the plunge because of my earlier investment in 4K TV, but we won't go down that road again after I keep on rambling on about it. But yeah, I mean, I think from my point of view, I think that what's interesting is, like you were saying towards the beginning, Sam, is that how, I guess it's not just underwhelming, it's just kind of vacant. The release lineup seems to be. It's very much, they're pitching this very much as just another iteration and not a fully fledged new platform sort of thing. It's, they keep on talking about the Xbox family and this sort of stuff, and there's no exclusives to the X version. It's all enhanced and all that stuff. I think probably what I'm kind of hoping for, they have been quite non-committal on it, but what I'm hoping for in terms of a game coming out is actually PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, because they've gone all in with that, like, heavily. And they haven't committed to a release date apart from before the end of the year. So I reckon, that particularly if it all lines up for them, that could be a really, not necessarily a system seller, but a solid thing for people to play the first couple of weeks of the console coming out.
Yeah, if they can get that on the Xbox One X first, because it's been a huge game this year, I think that will do big things for the Xbox One X. God, that's such a mouthful. The X. I'm going to call it that.
But I think the only game launching with it now is Super Lucky's Tale, which is, it looks good. That game looks good, and it's people who've played it and gone hands on have said it's a good little platformer, but that's not a good launch day picture, is it?
No, I mean, obviously Forza's coming out about 3 weeks before, so you have that, and that'll look very, very pretty, worryingly pretty, more so than real life sort of thing. But how much mileage does that really have,
Especially when you don't play racing games, so that's a...
Yeah, from my point of view, yeah.
I think for me, that it's just, it's a lot of money for something that just makes things look a little bit prettier. It's just too much money. But I'm similar to, I haven't got a 4K TV yet either, so maybe that'll change my mind. But
I think it possibly will.
How much is it? Like 450? Is it? Is that what
450?
Yeah, that's a lot of money to stump up for. Essentially, it's not going to offer me an entirely new experience. It's just going to do exactly what I've got now, only a little bit better.
See, I don't know. I don't know about the little bit. I won't commit to scales, but I've just got done playing Uncharted: The Lost Legacy in 4K HDR on the PS4 Pro, and fuck, it looks good.
Does it make it a better game though?
It means I probably have 100 screenshots from that game, and my playtime was probably boosted by 2 hours just looking at scenery and with my jaw dropped. Did it?
Okay, maybe I'll
make the gameplay better? No, but did it make me say, "Holy shit, this is amazing"? Several times, cool. Yes.
Those moments are really cool, but I guess it's just from me, it's graphics have never been that important. I'd much rather have a game that plays really well, and if all it's going to do is make my games look a little bit better, it's going to have to do a bit more than that before I take the plunge.
See, it can sort of impact that side of things as well. So if you're more concerned with how the games play, it will boost frame rates and things as well, and get rid of more distracting graphical issues rather than just boosting the the visuals. It might get rid of hitching and tearing and things like that.
I'm sure as soon as I get a 4K TV, I'll be buying that and an Xbox One X at the same time, and talking about how I don't know how I ever lived with just normal high definition, and how I could possibly manage to play games in that poor resolution. But until that day, they'll have to give me something more before launch, I think.
But yeah, I mean, everyone's going to be different because, I mean, when you take into account the cost of my TV, which I did get a grossly good one, and the PS4 Pro, it's $2,000 there. So I paid $2,000 to get Uncharted to look that good. And like I say, it does look jaw-droppingly good, but that's $2,000. I don't know that most people will pay $2,000 to, for that.
I don't have a 4K TV. I've been looking into it, but I don't know. I haven't experienced 4K gaming, so I can't really say that I desperately want it. But I'm mainly buying the X for its, like Sam says, the potential enhancements it's going to put on games, not just in for up to 4K, as in improved frame rates, improved performance. And I've already seen that there's Rise of the Tomb Raider is going to have the options. You can have it at 4K 30 FPS, or you can have it 1080p 60 FPS. That's what I'm mostly interested in.
Yeah,
until I get a 4K TV.
Before they started announcing, we learned all about it and everything. I was super psyched about this more powerful Xbox. So I don't know what it is that's kind of. It's not that I've been turned off from it. It's just more that I want more from them before I spend that amount of money. I want them to give me something that makes me go, holy crap, that's incredible. I've got to have that. So I was really hoping they were going to announce something originally about VR on Xbox or something, but nothing. That's what I was hoping for, something like an extra something that if you're an Xbox One X user, you can have this as well. I know they don't want to split the audience and stuff, but
I think that might come down the line because Microsoft are very eager to please at the moment. They're the underdog, and it's cool to hate them. So I think not jumping on gimmicks. I shouldn't have said gimmick because VR is not a gimmick. I'm always praising VR, but jumping on things.
Conversation for another time.
Yeah, jumping on things perceived by some people to be gimmicks, like VR, like the Kinect and things. I think for now, Microsoft want to avoid all that. I think that will possibly come down the line. Now's not the right time.
Watch this space.
A shiny, powerful console. That's what they want.
They just want to go. We've got the most powerful console. And then eventually I'm going to want to be able to say that as well. So I'm sure I'll have one by Christmas. I know I'm moaning about it now, but I'll pick one up.
Well, I'm sure they'll get us in the end for sure. So one thing that could, not necessarily from an exclusives point of view, but one thing which I thought was interesting, thinking about PlayerUnknown, is how much early access has been a kind of bigger deal on consoles in certainly the last 12 months, and it seems to be kind of pushing forward. Sam, I haven't really prepped you, but one thing which came to mind the other day was that they have recently announced the full release for We Happy Few, and like a major change in terms of publisher and stuff like that. Based on your time with the kind of the game so far, do you think it will make a big difference to kind of go from that pre-release version to the final thing?
With the changes they've sort of outlined, yes. I think when We Happy Few was announced, everyone was sort of expecting a BioShock-like story-driven first-person game, sort of narrative-driven game. Mm-hmm. What they got was slightly annoying survival simulator, but then again, I think all survival simulators are slightly annoying. You know, the topping up the bars, sleeping, eating, drinking, using the toilet, whatever you have to do. And now I think I'm right in saying that that's going to be optional, and there's going to be like an optional survival mode, but there will be just this straight campaign that everyone initially thought the game was going to be. So they're giving you the best of both worlds now, and I think that's Gearbox getting involved. Like you said, that they're the new publisher now. I think that involvement from Gearbox is what has sparked that. So I think that's a good thing in every possible way, really.
And how do you feel about the fact that they're going all in on like season pass and microtransactions and all that sort of stuff that seemingly seems to come with a big publisher way of thinking these days?
What have they said all that's implemented?
And they've certainly said season pass. I can't remember the rest of the details.
Season pass, I mean, it's the norm now. Whatever. Just don't buy it if you don't want it.
I've never bought one for anything.
Yeah. And I would advise you don't buy it as well, considering, you know, now they generally put them on sale before even all the content's out, or, you know, with Titanfall and lots of games have just ended up giving away all the DLC for free in the end. So I wouldn't advise picking them up, but, you know, it's par for the course. Do if you really want. Don't if you don't. Microtransactions are a different story. I can't really see how they would fit into We Happy Few, so I would say those have been shoehorned, and that's not particularly a good thing.
I think it was to do with I might be thinking of a different game, but I think it was to do with like character outfits and stuff like that, like the cosmetic inverted commas upgrades for stuff.
Okay. Well, it's a first person game.
Or it might have been, or maybe it was Player Unknown I'm thinking of, actually thinking about it. I don't know. Anyway, but on the kind of the early access side of things, obviously Ark was just a kind of few days ago for us as we're recording. Ark became a fully fledged game as well, and kind of is now out in the world officially and stuff like that. I mean, from you guys' point of view, do you like games that are on console in early access interest you in general? Does it put you off, or you know, or when it comes back around as a full release, like something like Ark at the moment, you know, does it kind of reignite your interest again if you've already stepped in before?
I think I've only tried 2, and that was the demo of Ark. You could play like an hour's worth, and when we were playing Conan the other day, and not good experiences, both of them. I was just a bit, that put me off. I was like, I'm not spending. If I'd spent money on Conan, if I'd like, you know, spent 30 quid on that or whatever it costs. I mean, I know they're working on an update to fix a lot of the issues that were happening there, but I'd be very annoyed. I know you're going into early access, you should know what you're getting into, but that was pushing it, I think, even for that.
See, from my perspective, you get one chance to make a first impression. You get, even though technically a game can have 2 release days this in this day and age, you get the early access release and the final release. In the public's mindset, you get 1 release date. If you release an early access, your game is out. So I think the people that play it, probably their interest is waning by the time it actually releases. And when it releases, people have already heard negative things from the early access period. So I think a lot of the time it's damaging, like in every way. Though there obviously are some exceptions there. It depends on how reactive the developer is and what kind of state the game is when they put it out in the first place. But
is Slime Rancher out now? Is that out of early access game preview? That's fully out.
It's free at the moment on Xbox.
Yeah, that's the one I was trying, but I didn't know if it was still in technically in game preview or whatever.
The day it went free was the day it fully released.
Okay.
See, that's one that was good in game preview. It had technical issues, but there was an entire game there. It wasn't just some shaky foundation.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Sam. I think most people know that if you're buying something in early access, you should expect a few issues. But it does depend on how quickly the developers react and how stable it is overall. But again, Conan, I probably wouldn't have been happy if I'd spent 30 quid on it. But I can say it's got a lot of potential.
Yeah, I dipped back in this week, and they posted a patch out a couple of days ago. Again, as we're recording. I mean, really, it seems weird that they would have released the game before the patch that has just dropped came out. I mean, I know you can't necessarily predict how stable your build's going to go once you've got a million people on it, but nonetheless, yeah. Well, I mean, the experience we had, as you say, I mean, I'll put some of it on the video for everyone to look at while we're talking about this. But yeah, I mean, it was very choppy and unreliable, and it got to a point after a few days after we were playing, when I was just doing single player by myself, where I couldn't even load the game up anymore, and just had to sit and wait for the patch to come, day after day to then be able to actually go back and do anything. So we'll give it another try as a group, and I think that sort of a game makes a big difference to have a group as well. And that was part of the problem, the fact we weren't all able to kind of coexist well. So from that point of view, yeah, I think that will probably draw us back in. But yeah, I think it was quite interesting to kind of see how people's perception, as you say, Sam, can be affected by the fact that you're seeing a kind of broken mess out there as a first impression. And then, why should you then pay double in the case of Ark later down the line when it's just got some more stuff in it?
Yep, I think it's just part of the human condition. People are fickle. They go off a first impression, and I'm guilty of this as someone who works in games testing. I can play a game early and it can be dreadful, and then it comes out and it could be great when it finally comes out, and I see all the good reviews and I'm thinking, how did that review so well? That was crap. And it's hard to separate sort of how, from where I was involved in the testing period early on, how it's evolved. And obviously it has evolved, but my impression is still my first impression of it, so I never want to play it, the finished article, because I still have in my head this picture of a broken mess.
Do you think it's different if there's like if you've got a major, well-established AAA franchise, at something like Halo or Gears of War or COD or something, where if you're giving people early access to one of those, then it's more about giving the fans something else to look forward to. So I think you're absolutely right about the first impressions. But if I'm given the opportunity to play Halo like a few months early, then I'll probably dip into that, and it won't make any difference about whether I buy the game or not. So I think there's a balance to strike for developers.
Yeah, I think you're right there. It depends how big of a fanatic you are, in a way, though. Are you willing to? That's what I mean. Are you willing to forgive any shortfalls, and you will play it just because it's Halo, or are you critical regardless of the? Yeah, or are you critical regardless of the name attached to it?
No, I'd be critical anyway, but I think
solely on a game by game basis, regardless of what name is attached to it.
I suppose I'd be more forgiving of an early access to a game I'm already a big fan of or invested in. Whereas a new IP, if I pick up something and go, I'll try that out, it's in early access, have a little play. If I don't like it straight away because of that first impression is a bad one, then I probably won't pick it up when it's fully released. Just a thought.
So one other thing around releases of late, which has kind of been a topic of conversation, which I thought we could talk about, was the issue of crossplay as well. the fact that particularly Sony seems to be blocking the whole initiative at any particular turn, whereas even Nintendo has started to get in on the action. I mean, simple question really for this one, are you guys bothered about playing games with people on other consoles and on PC?
I would love the opportunity to play with across PlayStation and Xbox, but it's never going to happen. I've got a lot of friends who are all big PlayStation fans, and they haven't got an Xbox, and vice versa and stuff. So I'd like the opportunity to cross-play with them, but I can't see it ever happening. I'd like it to, but I don't think it will.
It depends what they mean by cross-play. I mean, if it's just playing, then yeah, fine. But like Allan says, if you've got friends who are on different platforms, would you be able to talk to them? Is it just in-game, or is there going to be some sort of weird like party chat where you can all get together?
I think you would be able to talk to them, but not in a private party chat. It would be the in-game chat.
Okay. See, that could still be cool. Like, I'd support it then. That would be very fun, actually. I'm on board. I've changed
as well,
my mind.
it would help keep sort of games with waning communities alive for longer as well. So rather than if there are 50 people that play this game now on Xbox and it's hard, for the matchmaking to get results. If there's then 50 on PlayStation as well and 100 on PC, there's then 200 people in your matchmaking pool rather than 50. So obviously it'll help games that are dying a death.
So why do we think Sony is being such a hard ass about the whole thing?
Supposedly it's to protect their players. They don't want Xbox
from the Xbox
calling them losers because they have PlayStations. But
I think that is a legitimate risk, like a legitimate concern of like some severe like troll flaming, whatever you want to call it, major issues between different communities. Because you see it all the time online in like even like YouTube comments and stuff. For like a multi-platform release, which doesn't even have any exclusivity to either platform. You get everything descends into like a slagging match for no apparent reason. Well, as you say, the apparent reason is people get into colonial, tribal mental state or something. But yeah, I mean, I can sort of sympathize with Sony, but at the same time, maybe it's because with the Nintendo comparison there, maybe it's because Nintendo doesn't really see itself as, in competition with Microsoft in the same sense. So they're not that fussed about, how their communities react to one another.
Well, their silence on it, or refusal to do it straight away, has kind of put them in a really tough spot now, because now everyone's coming out and saying, well, Microsoft are okay with it and we can do it. It's all on Sony. There's a lot of pressure on them now to say, yeah, okay, we'll do it. It's the decision's really taken out of Microsoft's hands, because if they're going, yeah, we'll do it whenever, then it's up to Sony. If they're just saying it's up to them, then it's not their decision. They haven't made any decision. It's now all the ball is in Sony's court.
I'm sure Microsoft are very happy about that though, because they've been the bad guys for a long time now. So they've sort of pushed that onto Sony now, intentional or not.
It's blatantly intentional.
Yeah, I think it is.
They're loving it, Microsoft. Just holding their hands up and going, well, it's not us. It's not us.
Yeah.
Talk to Mr. PlayStation.
The one other valid concern, I think, especially with the X and the Pro and things now, and obviously PC hardware has always been customizable, is, if you're playing on a base Xbox One and you get into a multiplayer lobby and you're against someone on a PS4 Pro with their game running at a higher frame rate, on an Xbox One X with their game running at a higher frame rate, and on several different PCs, one that might run at a lower frame rate and 10 that might run at higher frame rates, everyone is not on even footing. Everyone's got a different experience, and that can affect how. I
suppose if you're jumping into a game by yourself, though, on any console or PC or whatever, then you'd probably be matched with people on the same consoles running at roughly at the same rate. But if you're going to be joining with a group of friends, so if I was joining with a group of friends, say an Xbox 360, an Xbox One, and an Xbox One X, I would expect there to be some sort of issues, but it would still be cool to be able to get that group of my friends together, no matter what machine they've got, and enjoy that game in some form.
So it will be very cool in co-op, but I think if you're playing a competitive online game and you're getting destroyed because of hardware, basically, because not only might the guy's PC run the game better, he might be using a keyboard and mouse, so he's got much faster reaction times. If you're just getting
more
destroyed.
Excuses for losing, so I'm down with it.
I just think if they're going to do it on games where that will be an issue, like first-person shooters, I think you're either just going to have to put up with it, or they're going to have to, segregate it so much that you're going to end up splitting the community so much. It's like the people with the same frame rate play together, people with mouse and keyboard play together, because then PC players don't really play with anyone apart from PC players if it's just mouse and keyboard ones in their own little lobby.
I think two queues maybe. So one for like an Xbox Live matchmaking system, and then a crossplay matchmaking system. So you're sort of signing up for, okay.
Oh yeah,
I'm playing on an even playing field, or I'm playing with the world.
Yeah, but I agree with that. I just don't think they'll be able to fragment the crossplay community that much. I think it's just going to be if you want to do it, you're doing it, and whatever happens. You got to put up with it. That's crossplay.
Luckily, it's up to Sony to sort out. We don't need to worry about it.
One thing that we do need to think about is Christmas, because it's the most wonderful time of the year, and there's a few things coming out, some of which we've already touched on. But what's everyone really most excited about before the end of the year from all of the big players?
For me, I don't know that there's a huge amount I'm significantly excited for, but there's a lot of stuff I'm interested in checking out. I think Mario Odyssey and Star Wars Battlefront 2 that we've already discussed. Other than that, I'll possibly maybe try Shadow of Mordor. Or no, Shadow of War. Sorry, the sequel to Shadow of Mordor. I think everything from Bethesda as well. You can't go wrong with Bethesda for me. But the new Dishonored, The Evil Within 2, Wolfenstein 2, Skyrim VR, Doom VR, like everything from Bethesda I'll get. And other than that, like I say, there's just a few other games I'll check out, like Battlefront, Mario Odyssey, maybe Shadow of War.
You've mentioned a couple of the games I'm interested in. Again, there's nothing apart from Mario Odyssey, there's nothing that I'm majorly psyched for. I'm hopeful of Summit Forces, as I mentioned, and Shadow of War. I really enjoyed Shadow of Mordor. That was like a real surprise for me. I picked it up secondhand and I played the hell out of it. So I'm quite interested to see what Shadow of War's like. South Park I mentioned as well, and a couple of other games that I'm interested in is FIFA 18. Normally I don't buy FIFA brand new. My friend buys it and we play online, or we play on the sofa. But the journey that was introduced in FIFA 17. I really want to find out what happens next. And a story doesn't generally grip me in video games. I like gameplay, but I am interested to find out what happens to the character in FIFA 18.
But, you wouldn't imagine a sports. I mean, I have no idea what happened in the journey. I know it's the Alex Hunter or whatever. I know.
Yeah, Alex Hunter. I just really enjoyed the whole thing. I've never played.
It's interesting that a sports storyline has gripped you more than,
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but I've never really been that into stories. I just want a game that plays really well. I just tell me I've got to save a princess and point me in the right direction, and I'm fine. But the story in FIFA 18, I just really enjoyed the way it brought the game to life a little bit more for me. So I've always played multiplayer, but I've never really played single player. But that did make me play an entire season of FIFA. So, I mean, if it made me do it once, I'm interested to see if it can make me do it again. And the other game I'm really interested in is Cuphead. So like the old school animated like platformer run and gun kind of game. Have you guys heard of it?
We have, yeah, or I have at least.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
It's real indie darling for years and years now. Xbox have been kind of rolling out every year, every other year. And a kind of, doesn't this look cool? And then everyone's like, yes, it looks cool. When can we play it? And they're like, not yet. Leave us alone.
I know.
Not that I would deprive Xbox of one of their few exclusives, but I would love to play Cuphead on the Switch.
I think it just looks awesome. I can't wait to get my hands on it. Hopefully, it'll be good. But I just like the way I just love the style. I think it looks really different.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of kind of when it, we can worry a little bit about style over substance, but with something like that, it's so distinctive. There's no way that you're gonna mistake that for another game anytime soon anyway. We could see a kind of resurgence of that style to an extent from like the indie scene or something like that. But obviously, given that it's taken so many years to develop, it's clearly insanely complex. But I remember them saying in the Gamescom presentation that everything was hand drawn and this sort of thing, and I was like, "What is that? That is insane." But I can massive respect to that sort of level of detail and dedication on a project. I think for me, I think Wolfenstein is definitely up there. I completely missed New Order the first time around and have been kind of getting into it while I've been streaming the game, check it out, etc. I've been really kind of enjoying getting into Blazkowicz's story in the New Order and interested to see where that goes in the sequel. And by the
it's
looks,
actually got a really good story, hasn't it, for a mindless shooter?
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those. I think similar to I didn't play Doom, but I think the style that they took with the story in that kind of the fact that the player character really doesn't give a shit about anything, and you can just wander off mid cutscene and stuff like that, whatever else, not cutscene, but when you're getting story rabbited at you, you can just fuck off and no one will mind. That sort of commitment, I guess, that Bethesda has to the way that it tells its stories and the style. Really hits home, to be honest. And the fact that the gameplay for Wolfenstein is really solid makes obviously all the difference from that point of view as an overall package. But yeah, it's been just really easy to pick up and play. And as I say, the levels as well are kind of in fairly self-contained chunks. So I've found it quite easy to kind of dip in, stream a level and then jump out again and off to do something else. So I think it's been quite, it's quite good at countering the problem I seem to have with particularly first-person story single-player games, where I kind of start playing and do about 3 levels, and then it takes me about 5 years to finish it because I don't have the commitment. So that's definitely up there. I'm quite looking forward to the War of the Chosen expansion for XCOM as well, actually, which is only a couple of weeks away on console anyway. It's out on PC now, but that's partly because I'm glutton for punishment with that game. I think it's really it's going to be really interesting to kind of jump back into it and everything being kind of slightly turned on its head, because what they've done with that expansion is it's almost a whole another game, really. They've really kind of gone right down to the bones of what makes the game and kind of really throw in a lot more elements. So that's quite interested to see.
I think there's probably 2 things that I'm most excited for. I mean, games like Battlefront 2 and COD World War 2, I'll probably get excited for them a couple of days before release, knowing that, it's going to be out soon. But I'm looking forward to FIFA 18 as well, but not for the Journey or the Xbox One version, but just on the Switch. I'm really looking forward to having like a proper FIFA game on the Switch, because being able to play it handheld, I think it's perfectly suited to like a handheld game. Just like everything's there. So like the screen's a little pitch anyway. I'm just really looking forward to that. And I wasn't bothered about the Journey before either. I played it and it didn't really connect with me. I wasn't really that interested in the human side of it. I just want to see them play the game. I love the whole management side, and that's being able to do that on the Switch, like take it anywhere, just, not having to play on TV is going to be awesome.
I think what's great about that is that it really emphasizes from, comparing yours and Allan's point of view, how differently you've kind of reacted to that game and had experiences with it. But equally, you've both got a lot out of it, from kind of different perspectives, which is just a great thing about gaming, isn't it?
Well, yeah, for me, FIFA is all about, I mean, there's the online part of it, but I always find the most rewarding and most enjoyable part is when I really get into a good career, when it just clicks with a team, man. I really become fully invested with the players, like, it to a certain extent. They score 20 goals for me. I love them. But that side of it. And I can't wait. I'm hoping, it hasn't happened in the last few FIFAs, but I'm hoping this time I find a team and I get a really good career out of it. I had one more, and it was the SNES Mini. That's what I'm waiting for.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Hoping that it's just not going
for one.
Yeah, I think I've got 2, just to be safe. There's one coming from Germany and one from a toy store somewhere. I don't know. Hopefully they're legitimate. But yeah, I'm hoping that's going to be more than just a plug in, have a look and go, oh, that was cool. I remember that game, and then never touch it again. I actually plan to get some game time out of that. At least Star Fox 2, because that was never seen a light of day, that game. That'll be cool to see.
What about yours then, Chris?
I think that what I'm most looking forward to is the Fractured But Whole, because I thought the Stick of Truth was the perfect game. It was just really silly fun. And Battlefront 2, I am interested, but because of EA access, I'll just never buy another EA game ever again.
The desired effect right there.
See, that's what made me feel bad about Titanfall 2, because I probably should have bought it, getting all those perfect scores and nobody buying it. And then it just turned up in EA access, and I feel a bit bad every time I play it now, because...
See, if I had a bit more self-restraint, that's what I would do, but I bought Titanfall 2 when it came out, and then recently had to take it out of the plastic wrapper so that I could trade it in. Having never played it.
Wow.
That's tough.
Yeah, so I had to open it because they won't accept it wrapped in case you've stolen it or whatever, or you've bought in bulk and you're selling it on. So I had to take the wrapper off and hand this pristine new copy in to trade it in.
And from this podcast, we have learned that Sam has too much money. But hey, you're dedicated to your passion, and that's what we like around here. I think probably that just about wraps it up for this podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed hearing us ramble on and have got a few interesting thoughts out of it. Please subscribe and all that other stuff to Pass the Controller to keep in touch with us for future stuff. But in the meantime, we've got some more content coming to you in the next few weeks. We may or may not get something out of the Conan gameplay that we talked about, but you'll have seen a bit of, and then we'll obviously have reviews for Mario+Rabbids and some other cool stuff coming up as well. So hopefully you enjoyed this, and we'll see you next time. Bye.